Memorization. Isn't that something babies do automatically? Learning things by heart comes naturally to them, whether it's being able to recall all the words to a nursery rhyme or remembering the plot of a story, if not the story itself, word for word. Mothers, grandmothers know what I'm talking about. It comes naturally to them even before one is actually able to read. Interesting. The key is engagement. If you're engaged, if you pay attention, on the basic level, if you care, memory comes automatically. The very act of hearing and reciting nursery rhymes builds brain structures that promote the development of higher order thinking skills. Your toddler, your preschooler is experiencing immense brain development during those precious years. So why not boost this cognitive growth through nursery rhymes? Research demonstrates a correlation between rhyming mastery and reading preparedness. Quite simply, children who learn to rhyme proficiently early on will be better able to learn to read, and read well, because listening and speaking are important precursors to reading and writing. There is some solid science behind it. Literacy and child development experts have determined that kids who know by heart at least 8 nursery rhymes by the time they're 4 years old are usually among the best readers and spellers in their class by the time they're in 3rd grade. This fact alone makes me wish every newborn went home from the hospital with a big book of nursery rhymes. Nursery rhymes are critical. In this digital age, they are more critical than ever. You seem to agree with me on this. Can you believe it? So does Microsoft Corporation. After finding out in their own research that, I quote, "Our attention span has dropped down today to 8 seconds. I kid you not, our attention span is less than that of a goldfish," unquote. And this concerns not only our beloved offsprings, all of us, to a lesser or greater degree, are hooked on our devices and manifest the smartphone addiction symptoms. Feeling chronic anxiety, FOMO, the fear of missing out, lacking impulse control, we keep checking notifications, frequently with total glaring disregard for dire consequences, while crossing the street, while walking in the street teeming with reckless scooter riders. La question reste ouverte. It's an open question. Who is more reckless? How do you like it? Not a bad idea. Sage investment in the well-being of future generations, right? With the primitive poetry of nursery rhymes, parents teach their bundle of joy language. And woe to the babe if they don't. And the little angel, the darling delights in the rhythm and rhyme of the verse. By hearing the music of the verse often enough, he comes gradually to understand first the sounds and eventually the words of which the verse is composed. And this music of the verse is as entrancing, as exhilarating to a small child as it is to a teenager, as it is to any grown-up. Without knowing, the person who has memorized a scrap of poetry has been drawn into the interplay, into the magic, civilizing interplay of music and language, rhythm and sound, melody and words. Verse teaches us something about the patterns and relationships that bind together, knit together the words of which it is composed. The student who memorizes poetry internalizes these rhythmic, beautiful patterns of the English language, and then they become part of his language store, those words we all use every day in speaking and writing. Without memorization, the student's language store is limited. It goes without saying that memorizing poetry is a kind of exercise that strengthens the powers of the mind, just as physical exercise strengthens those of the body. However, no less important, when kids learn something difficult, like poetry by heart, then a great sense of accomplishment, competence, proficiency, so instrumental to the enhanced self-growth of all children, but in particular of those with low self-esteem. For them, their feet, wait a moment, I've done it. An insurmountable obstacle has been overcome. For them, this breakthrough can literally become a springboard to their future academic success, hopefully to their success in life in general. As the acclaimed Irish-English poet Seamus Heaney put it, memorizing poetry gives kids a cultural ear that will set them up for life. Beautiful. Yeah. Seamus Heaney is a Nobel Prize winner in literature, a major poet of the 20th century. He must know a thing or two, no? Learning poetry by heart turns on kids' language capability. It not only teaches them to articulate English words, and even the most narrow-minded, vicious bigots, opponents of memorization, cannot deny the simple fact that rhyme form, rhymed verse, is an excellent means of phonetical drill, both for beginners and advanced students of English. Memorizing and reciting poetry not only facilitates building and expanding their vocabulary, they say it's easier to remember two rhymes together than each of them separately. You've heard it. Which is, of course, true, but it's tantamount to saying that the Nile River is bigger than the Honorable River Hayarkon. It's such a huge understatement. There is so much more to it. My hypothesis proved true on numerous occasions. It's easier to remember the whole stanza with all the words pertaining to it than one separate word in isolation. On the fingers, nails. On the ground, snails. In the forest, bears. On the trees, pears. A 3-year-old child, not a native speaker of English, but exposed to the language from toddler age up, remember these grammatically somewhat flawed lines in the blink of an eye, just like that. While rhymes suggest their pairing word, which is in itself a powerful memory booster, rhythms coax us into recalling exact syntax that helps us communicate feelings, that helps us understand and analyze the standard, and all along acquire a large, extended vocabulary. And the greater, more copy of the vocabulary, the greater one's comprehension of increasingly difficult material. And still the cardinal, paramount virtue of memorizing poetry is that it heightens kids' feel for the intricacies and complexities of the English language, an indispensable attainment if one is to go on to speak, read, and write English with ease. All these benefits, superfluous to mention, are of special value for those students whom, incidentally, many of you are privileged to teach, who come from homes where books are scarce / non-existent, and the level of literacy, English literacy, is low / non-existent. Repetition and learning by heart, rather underrated in the modern Western society. Thanks God the modern Western society is coming to its senses. There are poetry workshops in the United States, high schools, where it is quite a thing to make graduate students memorize and recite poetry, better late than never. And learning poetry by heart has become a part of a new, more rigorous national curriculum in a number of European countries. Just guess what European country is setting the pace? Katie? Great Britain. Our perennial trailblazers, the land of gracious and chivalrous pioneers. The land of gracious and chivalrous pioneers. I hope these words one day will become iconic, and then it will be my humble gift to my beloved nation. In many respects, owing to a former Education Secretary, Michael Gove, a hero of mine, an intrepid, undaunted reforming minister, who again and again, for the sake of the public good, greater cause, had laid his career on line before it imploded in the aftermath of the last elections, and till the last moment refused to buckle. Mensch par excellence. I just hope, I pray, he's eyeing up political comeback. His country needs him. And of course there are poetry out loud contests in the United States and in Europe. And let's call a spade, let's say the unvarnished truth, altogether neglected in our own backyard, the land of the book. Repetition and learning by heart, the case I would like to make, are two of the most valuable, effective, and pleasurable language learning activities, compatible with creativity and originality of thought. Not only useful, vital for people of all ages, of all walks of life, a priceless boon to the young mind, and a great way to stay mentally sharp as we grow old. My dear colleagues, please don't get me wrong. Learning, the learning process, is not just about learning by heart, of course. No. Learning is about being able to retrieve information, to critically assess it, to analyze it, to synthesize it. But none of the things can occur unless we have this information at our fingertips, unless we can see how it fits into a bigger picture. And this cannot happen unless this information is safely stored in our memory. For the cherry on top, new insights are gained in the process of memorization. We see things to which we were previously blind. We uncover a play of words, assonance, alliteration, analogies, allusions, anaphoras, epistrophes. Vladimir Nabokov, the renowned American-Russian novelist, must have meant that when he declared, "There is no such a thing as reading, there is only rereading. A good reader, a thoughtful reader, an active reader is a rereader." The same, by the way, holds for TV shows and movies. We see so much more in a second, third, fourth viewing. We don't truly see anything the first time. We watch it. And there is marked difference between these two activities. The work is so new, so unknown to us. We can hardly make heads or tails of it because we are overwhelmed, because we suffer from sensory overdose, sensory overload. Quite simply, there is too much going on for us to get anything but a glimpse of the work's essence. Memorizing poetry may be the most intimate way to experience a good poem, to feel it rather than skim over it superficially in a perfunctory manner, to gain familiarity with its secrets, hints, undertones so often missed on the page. And then they become a part of you, a treasure that you can carry wherever you go and retrieve it whenever you need it, or somebody else does. Our students, for example, and they do need it. Have you heard it? The sound of my words falling on deaf ears. Cassandra's curse.